Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 111th edition of the Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. More than a year ago, in April 2020, we started this journey with the hope of putting together a series of webinars where we could have educators discussing a myriad range of topics regarding our school education system. Well, more than a year later, as I invite you to this 111th episode, it fills me with immense pride and happiness. And we have all of you to thank for, because without your love and support, this would not have been possible. Before we start with our usual show, just call it a superstition that stems in the world of cricket, I just wanted to quickly harp on today's episode number 111. That medieval looking gentleman that you see on the left of your screen is Vice Admiral Horatio Nelson. And the gentleman to your right, shown here in three different poses, jumping up and down, was the legendary cricket umpire David Shepherd. Cricketers had somehow developed this weird superstition that the number 111, which was called the Nelson, was a very unlucky number. The number got its name because Admiral Nelson during the battles had lost one arm, one eye, and one leg. Well, historically inaccurate because later it was found that he had both legs. Now, David Shepherd, whenever he was on the field and the score would be 111, he would jump up and down just to make sure that the entire game of cricket would get rid of the bad luck. Well, today here, we hope Mr. Shepherd does the same for us. Our first speaker today is Mr. Philip Burrett. Mr. Burrett retired as the Deputy Headmaster from the illustrious Doon School in Dehradun after 44 years of serving in education. He served the Doon School as Housemaster, Head of Department, Dean of Activities, Dean of Student Welfare, Deputy Headmaster, Second Master, and Acting Headmaster with great distinction. He also carried out a visioning exercise for the Doon School in the year 2011 through an in-depth study of a number of British public schools and various schools in the US. Mr. Burrett also qualified as a leadership trainer at Wellington College, UK in the year 2000. He is also an athlete, an adventurer, and a naturalist. And we at Notebook are proud to have him as our senior advisor. Sir, thank you so much for being here. Over to you.
Thank you, Shabayu, for that wonderful introduction. A very good evening to you, Achin, and the entire team at Notebook Calcutta. A very good evening to Mr. Watts, Mrs. Devgan, and Mrs. Chaturvedi, who are our panel today, and also our guests who have tuned in to listen to us. So the school fests, they make for a wonderful topic, because schools are very busy places, and all work and no play makes, as the saying goes, Jack or Jane a dull girl and boy. So there has to be a lighter side to schooling, a time when we can take the tremendous pressure that children face with colleges and applications, careers, exams, competitive interviews, peer pressure, cyberbullying, and all the rest of it that knock the life out of childhood. In these days, even sport is so competitive that it's strenuous. If you just hear PT or physical instructors shouting at their teams during an inter-house or inter-school match, you'll realize it's no fun anymore. It's very, very hard. It's real competition. It's almost like studies. In most schools, especially residential schools, there are only a few times in a day or even in a year when everyone, the entire school, gets together. In residential schools, this would be meals and assemblies. Everything else that we do will be in small groups, either age or house groups or study groups. But it is only in a few activities, let's say the mass PT that day schools are famous for, and school festivals, the annual day that colleges and schools hold. That's the only time the entire school, from the headmaster downwards to the lowest, the school support staff, will all get together to make something of this event, which sometimes lasts 2 to 3 days. You can call it Founders Day, you can call it Speech Day, you can call it Annual Day, but there is usually one big day in a year, in a school's year, that is the important event. And of course, there could be 1 or 2 smaller events in the course of the year where this again happens. In these days, even the MUNs and sometimes schools hold invitational debates, career festivals. These two become very, very big events because you're going to open the gates to visitors and guests, chief guests, and it enables the children of a school to start playing host to our guests and also to impact and interact with the people of the wider world. Each of these annual programs includes a lot of pomp and show, whether it's sports day, athletics day, founders day. There's also speeches and there's also prizes, especially residential schools. And people come from all, from all corners of the place, even from, we have so many NRI students that come from abroad, just descending on the school for this one weekend, let's say. Even colleges have their own festivals. And I know in Delhi University, these are very, very big events, including cultural, musical, sports, alumni dinners, fashion shows, guest lectures, debates. The idea being that there is something that everybody can get involved in. There's something for everybody, the intellectual, the aesthetic, and the athletic. But these events, these large mega events, have their downsides as well. For starters, they take a large chunk of the annual budget that the school lays aside for this, which could have easily been used for infrastructural reforms, scholarships, buying new audiovisual equipment. It could have supported a couple of students for their entire year in schooling. So one looks at the budget, and this budget keeps going up as inflation goes up. The tentage, the food, the extra staff, the security that you have to bring in, everything inflates, and it goes up each year by 6 to 10%. Secondly, events like these take a lot out of the school staff in terms of effort and time, because putting up plays, musicals, operas, and sporting events, debates, exhibitions, my gosh, we have to turn on extravagant meals. Tentage takes a huge chunk of money, as I said. And, everyone, there's so much effort that goes into it. And actually, these events last maybe 2 to 4 days. So is it worth it? Also, one might argue that a lot of blood, sweat, and tears goes into, hours and weeks go into it. And it's only for a couple of days. And then, of course, the chief guest for the final event declares a holiday, which is what normally happens. And after the holiday, things have to limp back to, the academic calendar, and the life of the school begins. And this is not always very easy to get back, because once the parents have departed and class starts again, the school bell, the children are not attuned to studies. Many weeks of regular school time get lost. And I know in the Doon school, when it almost a month was a gap month, because we have a small school, only 500 odd kids, and these children were preparing for every event under the sun, especially the big fete or the mela that occurred. And many hours of school time was wasted. And when the event was over, there was a catching up to be done, and that was not very easy. So Black Monday was the Monday after Founders Day, when one could see long faces and depression written widely over everyone, because the last of the parents had left, and the last of the shamianas were being pulled down, and the buntings were coming down, and life went on as usual. But having said all this, these events are greatly looked forward to, and involve a lot of creativity, effort, and talents of the students. After all, when parents troop into school once a year, they have come to see what their children have created, what have they learned, what have they going to show them. And it's very important that there should be a variety, a plethora of events, so that every child has a chance to showcase his skills and talents. And I feel very sad when a parent comes and looks around and everyone else's kid is running or acting or doing something or presenting a painting, and their ward hasn't done anything. I mean, that's a sad day for parents who come from so far. I had a case of a student once who had qualified for a few athletic events, and the parents had come in a day earlier, We used to have the athletic program one day before the big Founders Day. And they were so excited about seeing their son perform the next day. But what happened that night? He slipped in the bathroom, cut his head open, and that was the end of his athletic events. And the parents were so broken because they do come with great expectations. I know that the Founders just got bigger and bigger with each year, with old boy matches versus present boy, a lot of exhibitions, plays, musicals, prize distribution. And especially when you're celebrating bigger events, mega events like Golden Jubilees and Diamond Jubilees. When we had our Diamond Jubilee, we had months of preparation, and the audiovisual and sound equipment that we put on the main stage would have made bands like Deep Purple and Pink Floyd, stand up and cheer. I know I was once upon a time in charge of the audiovisual equipment for our Founders Day, where every speech, every event had to be recorded. And there was going to be no glitches for over 4 days. And this was a big feat, because my team of boys and me had to make sure that everything went off. It is extremely exhausting, because every luncheon, every dinner, all the photography sessions, it's a big strain on everyone. There's even the guards and chokidars watching over security. And let me tell you that these events usually involve a lot of security, because these events have some high-flying chief guests. In my school, we've had Pratibha Patil, we've had Manmohan Singh, Chittambaram, we've had the King of Bhutan, the British High Commissioner, or Nasiruddin Shah, but none was as big as Amitabh Bachchan, because when he came in as chief guest, we had half of our town illegally sitting in a great amphitheater because they had smuggled themselves in. So, and security was out of control. Even the bona fide guests and invitees didn't find place to, plump themselves. These events also gives the school administration a chance to soup up the school. This is the time for all the spit and polish and the paint and the varnish to put on, on the school. Of course, the children don't like it, because they say, you're putting up a show only for 3 days. But if the school has to get a coat of paint all over, what better time to do it than before this big event? And I don't see anything wrong in spending some money once a year to spruce up the school. Also, these events are looked forward to by people in town, all the hoteliers and restaurateurs, because these their rooms are booked up months in advance as alumni come in to celebrate their various centenaries, and 50 years on, 40 years on, 10 years on. All these batches come into the town, and so there's a great amount of profit that the locals make during these events. It is also a time for the school to showcase what it actually stands for, what it does. Because most people don't know what happens inside the walls of a school. They have a perception of what happens. In fact, they sometimes used to call us elitist. But when they come into school and see the simple fare that we serve, and how our students live, and how polite our students are, their views, their biased views sometimes change. And so this is the time we actually open the doors of the school, the gates of the school, to allow, not only the gentry, but the people who serve, all the press, our suppliers, our well-wishers, our friends. They come into school to see our plays, to visit our exhibitions, to take part in our fates. And so this is a time to open our hearts to the community that most of the time only has the chance of peering over the wall and looking at us. I know just before our Founders Day, there was a bit of confusion at our main gate, and I think the late Swami Agnivesh was there with a group of people demanding asking why the school doesn't have enough things to do in Hindi. And there was something about language and that we were elitist school. So a group of boys and the headmaster actually invited him, and he had a very good vegetarian lunch at our dining hall, after which he was taken to the library, and he saw the array of our Hindi section. And our Hindi section, I can tell you, was larger than a lot of college Hindi sections. And he left the school not only happy, but with a very, very positive feel for the school. So these events also open the school to public viewing. So school festivals also include other events, as I said earlier, in the course of the year. You might have the inter-house play competition, or may have a sports day. And again, visitors troop in, and it's a time to spruce up and showcase the school. So whether you have once a year, a large function, or you have two functions, or you have a number of small functions, these are all school festivals where all these stakeholders get together, from the board, the societies, the principal, the teachers, the students, the alumni, the parents, friends and well-wishers. They all get together and make something of this large event, which I say again, could be a one-day event, could be a 5-day event. And I know that it takes a lot out of the staff, but for the children, it's a huge event in their lives. They will never forget the camaraderie, the photographs, the stalls, the eating, food that's different from the school's normal food. It stays with them for life. And the photographs they get at these events will always, be cherished. It's also a time when the school might bring out its publication, its annual publication. And it's also a sad occasion for the leaving batch, the batch that is passing out a few months from then. And so for them, it's also a time for, saying goodbyes. It's the last event. And so with that, Shubhayu, I think I'm going to hand this over to you. I hope I've made some sense of this topic. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, sir. A lot of that took me back to my school days and our school fests. As you said, that holiday that was announced at the end of the fest was usually the highest point of the fest for most of us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to tell you more about school fests, our next speaker is Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. He is a fellow of the ICAI and a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. Achin is an avid reader and a passionate traveler with keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Shubha, am I audible?
Yeah, Achin, loud and clear.
I once again welcome all of you to today's session. Now, we all agree that as far as school fests are concerned, they're really important for students to build, in the sense, team building as a team building activity, to build their confidence, eliminate stage fear. And not only that, I think a very important aspect is it really challenges them to come out of their comfort zones, which is so important when they step out of the school campus. And if you look at various aspects, be it as a healthy outlet for energy, promoting camaraderie among students, staff, building stronger bonds within the community, instilling discipline. And also today, if you look at the kind of activities that all concerned parents, educators are worried about, students indulging in, say, be it drugs, smoking, drinking. So undoubtedly, activities like this are a very healthy pastime, creative outlet of energy, I'll say. And when we discuss about teamwork in this forum, we've been discussing time and again that how important team skills are when these students tomorrow, when they step out of the campus and post completion of their education, even when they go for their careers, and be it any profession, how important team skills are. And I think one of the best ways to build this kind of skill and to work on it is events like this. Another very important aspect is the moment we discuss about any kind of event. So be it sports, be it any kind of cultural event, wherever students participate, I guess the most important aspect is the spirit of participation. At the end of the day, be it any competition, be it singing, dancing, or be it sports, who wins, who loses, that's completely secondary. So I think the ability of students to not only rejoice in winning, but also to accept defeat gracefully, I think that to me is one of the most important takeaways of any kind of competitive event, a sign of maturity, which is so important when you look at the long-term picture. We've been discussing in this forum about the fact that as far as domain knowledge is concerned, with time, definitely domain knowledge has increased. But where we always see a challenge, and where we see a lot of potential employers complaining, coming back very strongly, is in terms of strength of character, is in terms of students not being able to face challenges or accept defeat gracefully. So I think events like this, so be it team building skills, be it in kind of teaching them to be more humble, to be more realistic, and to learn from mistakes. Of course, things like showcasing of talent and all, they are no-brainers. We all agree. Encouraging healthy competition, and also teaching them how to shine under pressure. So events like this, undoubtedly, we have a great panel here today, and I'm sure they'll deliberate on many practical aspects, as Burrett also shared some very interesting and important insights. So when it comes to school fest, and why only school fest? If I look at things from a more holistic and broader perspective, I was looking at so many things that are happening around the world, and with one single objective: to increase students' exposure, to prepare them for a better tomorrow. For instance, I was looking at Japan. In Japan, every school have a series of events throughout the year, and of course, some of them are very unique in a very unique Japanese way. At times, they seem very mysterious. So I heard a term, very interesting, bunkasai, which basically in Japanese means cultural festival. So I was interested to understand what it's all about. So the term bunkasai basically translates into a kind of cultural festival. But I think it's much more than just a normal cultural festival. It's an opportunity for a school to place its best qualities and students' personality before an audience. It is a chance for students to basically demonstrate what they have learned in their lessons throughout the year and perform. And not only perform in front of parents, teachers, and their peers, at times in front of the entire community. Public is invited to come in and witness the fantastic work that the school has done, with the entire objective of building more community awareness. Now, the nature of this event again varies from school to school. For example, I was reading about some junior high schools who focus heavily on performing arts. So activities like be it singing, dancing, etc. With each class being asked to put their own 20 to 30 minute, highly choreographed mini concerts. At times, other schools may take a completely different track. For example, at times, some schools invite parents to come and see a display of students' work, whatever they have done during the year. So project reports, etc. Activities that students have performed, they're showcased for students, for parents. And this is followed up by a short concert in which each class is asked to perform to their own song, something which is written and composed by them. Not only composed by them, but completely choreographed by them. So the level of effort, time, energy, and hours of preparation that goes to a single, one-day event, which lasts for only few hours, is undoubtedly exemplary. And in Japan, I was reading about this, the students are encouraged very strongly to take great pride in their school, in their class, in their team ethics, in terms of, so be it in terms of having the best banner in this particular festival, best display, best performance. And it's not only a matter of personal pride. It's an affirmation of a student's place in the school. And the entire class takes great pride in it. Typically held in November, normally coinciding with the Cultural National Day Festival, which takes place in Japan around November first week, November 3rd. And at times, I think what is really interesting is it's so uniform. Like, meaning to say, at any given point of time, around first week of November, all schools in a town will have their bunkasai. Same day or maybe a gap of few days here and there. So, and generally, the older the age group of students are, the more elaborate the cultural festival is likely to be. Another initiative that I was going through, and slightly different from School Fest. So this was, of course, pretty much in line with what students in our country also are doing, which I'm sure our esteemed panel will talk about, their own experiences. But it's a very important point, very interesting point. So, with regard to looking at this thing from I'll say a 360-degree perspective, also with regard to budgets, costs, etc. But around the world, if you see the kind of investment that goes into ensuring that students get adequate exposure, and at times not necessarily that all the students, they come from very privileged backgrounds or great budgets, etc. But the fact is, in terms of priority order, preparing our children for tomorrow at times is placed very, very high. For instance, I was going through a few very interesting insights. I was going through about a school in California who did a unique initiative called Families Around the World Initiative. So they selected 21 countries, 21 families. So all parents or grandparents of children who are studying in their school, many of them migrants coming in from different parts of the world. The whole objective was that the students, along with their teachers, they went on a trip and visited these 21 countries and 21 families to experience multiculturalism firsthand. And they came back and shared their knowledge, their experience, the entire feel of it with their peers. So imagine the kind of exposure. I was reading about a theater festival that is taking place every year in Russia, St. Petersburg. In this particular festival, students from around the world, they are going and performing plays in their own native language. The whole objective is to ensure that a piece of their culture, they're able to present it in front of a bigger world. So that students who come in from different parts of the world, they understand that what each culture is all about. Another very interesting festival that I was reading about, Five Sparks. Five Sparks basically is a classical music festival. But this is mainly about student musicians, students who are also musicians from around the world. Each year this takes place, wherein, and this takes place in Harvard, wherein students who are actively into classical music, they go and they perform in front of other students who come in from different parts of the world. So you can understand, imagine the kind of effort, initiative, and it's not only a question of budget, it's also a question of taking this kind of effort, giving priority. So I guess undoubtedly, consider even this backdrop, I'm sure events like School Fest, every single rupee spent in it is worth it, considering the fact that it gives so much of exposure to our students. Now, a very important aspect in today's time, considering the fact what we have been going through since last 1.5 years now almost, during the pandemic, and its effect on various events, events like School Fest, etc. And I understand a lot of good work has happened in terms of holding cultural events, cultural, festivals online. And I really want, I'm sure our esteemed panelists also will deliberate on this. Now, the restrictions that have been brought about with regard to COVID-19 pandemic, of course, it forced, and there's no option, rightfully so. So many events which normally takes place every year couldn't take place. But I was reading about this, that actually students who didn't want to miss out, schools who didn't want to miss out on hosting or organizing these events, actually they came up with cultural festivals organized which were completely online. And the best part was that some of these online festivals were even inter-schools, wherein quite a few schools in a particular area, they came together and they held this festival completely online. And it really attracted students from the locality to participate. Various competitions which can be held online on video. And although these online events retained, some of the conventional events that normally takes place in this in school fest, etc., they also added few competitions which work very well online. And naturally, considering the fact that how well connected students are through social media, so Instagram or Google Meet, they played a huge role. Many of them are hosted in online platforms like Zoom. And considering the fact that students at times were attending online classes during the day, some of these festivals are also scheduled in the evening. So I think it has been a great learning curve. And why this is important is, and especially the part where quite a few schools are coming together and holding this in this kind of cultural festival in a particular area or a locality, is although this pandemic has been by far the worst humanitarian crisis that we have seen in our lifetimes, one positive takeaway from this pandemic, of course, has been, in spite of all traveling restrictions, the world has become a far more, I'll say, smaller place. People are far more interconnected, undoubtedly. At times, so considering this, and also, it's so easy, so convenient. Technology has really brought all of us much closer. So this is one aspect which I found really important and interesting in today's change scenario. So I would like to, of course, hear from this, hear from our panelists with regard to online festivals, etc. So these are a few things that I wanted to share. I thank all of you for giving me a patient hearing, and I look forward to our esteemed panelists with regard to their deliberation. Over to you, Shubhayu.
Thank you so much, Achin. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we go into the panel discussion, just a little bit about Notebook. We at Notebook are an EdTech organization. We make small videos that are corresponding directly to the school curriculum. What this means is you as teachers have access to videos that match the exact topics that you're teaching in class. You can use these videos during your online classes or even offline classes, as and when schools open up, to introduce the topics to your students more visually. The students also have access to the same videos from their homes, on their personal devices, whatever they have at home, be it a laptop or a smartphone. They can watch these small videos over and over again, wherever they want, wherever they want, and understand the topics better. I will now play a short clip of one of the Notebook videos so that you know exactly what I'm talking about.
He also faced attacks by robbers during his journeys. His accounts can be found in the Rilla. Ibn Battuta arrived in India at a time when it had a cosmopolitan or multinational culture. The people in the subcontinent globally communicated and traded with the Chinese, Europeans, and the Africans. They spoke in Arabic, Persian, Turkish, and other languages. They freely exchanged ideas, information, and anecdotes. In his accounts, Battuta highlighted the strange, new, and exciting things about the new places he visited. He attractively described the coconut and the betel trees for the people of his homeland in Morocco. The people of his country, who were his readers at that time, did not know about coconut or palm. Ibn Battuta also described the Indian cities in great detail. The cities had crowded streets and colorful markets filled with a variety of goods. Life in the cities was busy, exciting, and full of great opportunities. Delhi was the largest city with a huge population. Daulatabad was close to Delhi in size and population. The markets or the bazaars were centers of trade and commerce, social and cultural and religious activities.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a short clip from one of the notebook videos. If you go onto our website, www.notebook.school, you would find more than 10,000 such videos at your disposal. Well, today, since we're talking about school fests, as quite a few of you already know, last year we conducted an online inter-school debate called Zero Hour. The event became quite a success, with 64 schools across 7 countries participating and more than 35,000 people attending those events live. This year, we have taken it one notch higher. We have partnered with the IIM Calcutta Innovation Park in building up an event that we call the Ignite. This is an international inter-school online innovation and entrepreneurship challenge. Let me quickly tell you what this event is all about. We are looking at our students as young entrepreneurs and change makers. We want to improve on their skills of critical thinking and the ability to find innovative solutions to everyday problems. Well, your team should have not more than 5 students between the classes of 9 to 12. They can pick up any problem of their choice. Could be something as trivial as getting a mobile recharge on time, could be as complex as solving for world hunger. Once they have picked up a problem, they are supposed to brainstorm and come up with their own innovative solution for that and present that solution like an innovative business plan or like a startup pitch in front of a jury put together by IIM Calcutta. Through multiple rounds of presentations, the students would not only show their innovation, but also be invited to present their solutions to some esteemed jury panel members and also undergo some mentorship from IIM Calcutta faculty. The registrations are already open. In case your school has not already registered, this is the link where you can go and register your school. It is http://bit.ly, that is bit.ly/notebook-ignite. We have very few slots left, so I would request you to register your schools at the earliest. The registrations are completely free of charge, and this is the largest event for student entrepreneurs anywhere on the planet. Well, that said, it is now time to talk about School Fest with the wonderful panel that we have with us today. We have with us Ms. Sumali Devgan, who is the principal of the Doon Girls School. She is a result-oriented professional with over 35 years of diverse experience in various Indian and international schools teaching English, history, and music. She has been a dedicated head of school for many years in Indian and international schools with a strong work ethic to build lasting relationships with teachers, management, parents, customers, vendors, and the team. She has the ability to manage, mentor, and motivate people to perform to their maximum potential. She has exceptional organizational and planning skills and an ability to define and improve processes. She is accustomed to working in nurturing environments with the ability to mold people, children, and achieve stable growth of the school environment. She is also a certified piano and music teacher from the Trinity College of Music, London. She has extensive international experience through working and traveling, and proficient in English, Hindi, Bengali, and possesses basic knowledge in Bahasa, which is the language spoken in Indonesia. She is also a teacher who is confident, articulate, and positive. Ma'am, thank you so much for making the time and being here with us today. We also have with us Mr. Leslie Peter Watts, who grew up in the Nilgiris in Kannur. He has taught English, history, chemistry, and biology to middle years in St. George's College, Mussoorie, Dr. Graham's Home School, Kalimpong, and the Assam Valley School. Over the last decade, he switched from teaching to administration and is currently the head of hospitality, event management, PR, and alumni affairs at the Assam Valley School. He is also the master in charge of English debating. He also does public speaking for his students and loves traveling, reading, music, and cooking. Sir, thank you so much for being here today. I'm sure being at the helm of event management at your prestigious institution, you would have a lot of insights to share. We also have with us Dr. Jyoti Chaturvedi, who holds an MA, a B.Ed, and a PhD, and is currently the principal at the Kakubhai Parikh School at Gandhidham. She has around 18 years of experience in teaching field at various levels and has an illustrious journey right from being a pre-primary teacher to becoming the principal of a school. Ma'am, thank you so much for being here and making the time. I'll start my video now. Stop the share so we can start this discussion. I would request you to please switch on your videos and unmute yourselves. Mr. Watts, sir, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you fine. Sumali ma'am and Dr. Chaturvedi, if you could also unmute yourselves and switch on your cameras.
Yep. Okay. So, right. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Perfectly. Thank you. Well, Sumali ma'am, my first question is to you. How important, good evening, ma'am. Sumali ma'am, how important do you see school fairs in the larger scheme of holistic development of students?
Yes, I am extremely for this. Okay, having taken part in college fests from the days I've been there as a student, and I have been very involved in school fests of all kinds in all my 40 plus years of teaching, right? And I continue to do so even today. It's very important, I think. And like Mr. Burrett earlier said, that, you know, school academic program is tough, right? So the children also need a little outlet. And what better way than through school fests, whether it's internal or even inter-school fests, right? And also, like it's been said earlier, that it gives the children time to showcase their talents, whether it's at a parents' day. Parents also want to see what their children have been doing throughout the year. Unfortunately, today's, I feel, you know, parents have also fallen into the rat race, more concerned about marks and grades, right? And they don't think, if, you know, arts, music, drama, or any such thing, sports are important. For them, it's getting into these coaching centers and spending all their free time, you know, just in their with their books. So it's a total no-no for me. The school fests are needed, they're necessary, because you know, it helps the children bond better. You know, the excitement of traveling together to outstation schools or wherever places they're going to, working as a team, and of course gaining confidence. And I have been to a lot of these, and you know, they're understanding cultural, you know, differences between different places, even domestically also different states have different cultures. And of course, I mean, I've taken them outside, and it's interesting because when we had this regular festival exchange programs with one of the very elite schools in Lahore. And I remember initially the parents were absolutely saying, oh, no, our children can't go. Children were apprehensive also. And, you know, it took a lot for us to convince them. And when they came back from their trip from Lahore, they just couldn't believe how nice the people were, you know. And they kept saying, but ma'am, they're lovely people. I said, of course they're lovely. And that this is what all these cultural events do. So they have a better understanding. And I'm so happy to see that even with me and the teachers who went with me and the children, we still have those bonds. We are still in touch with the staff in those schools, and we meet up whenever we can, you know. Definitely, you know, parents also, most of the parents realize the importance of these school fests, right? But yes, at the back of the mind, you know, they keep on harping about classes being missed and all that. Yes, of course, grades are necessary, but I feel that these trips, you know, are far more enriching. And making up classes is not a big deal. I mean, I'm still teaching. I've been teaching all these years. And even with the board classes, it's not much of an issue. That's what I personally feel. So yes, definitely the children need to go out, they have to showcase their talents. But only thing I wish, festivals would not always involve prizes. I feel it should just be without rankings and prizes. It should be a happy festival, where children get together, they understand each other, they build bonds of friendship which go on for much longer. So yes.
Wonderful, ma'am. Very interesting that you would mention Lahore. I remember for the All Asian debate in 2004 or 5, I was part of the Indian team, and the hosting college was University College Lahore.
Okay.
And that was a huge bone of contention as to how an Indian contingent of students would be received in Lahore.
Yes.
Unfortunately, because of political issues,
Yeah.
India finally decided not to send a team.
Mm.
But I lament to this day
Yeah.
the missed opportunity of visiting that city.
Yes, yes. Well, we've had a lot of exchange, like a different, whether like it's MUNs, and it's good because we met up with teams from all over the world. It was amazing, absolutely amazing experience. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Watts, I'll come to you next. Really sorry for the noise that you're hearing. There's some construction work going on, so there's this jackhammer that keeps dropping.
Sorry.
Mr. Watts, so you are in a residential school, so I'm guessing a lot of the responsibilities for logistics also falls upon the students that you manage. Could you just tell me how this helps them develop as people?
Sure. So thank you for having me on this panel. And yes, for most of my career, I have been associated with boarding schools, starting my career in 1985. And for most of those years between St. George's, Missouri, Dr. Graham's Homes in Kalimpong, and for the last 26 years at the Assam Valley School. These are all boarding schools, and the functioning of a boarding school would be slightly different to that of a day school. We have students here for about 9 months in the year, 8 to 9 months in the year, and we are very much in loco parentis. And I will not touch upon the founders aspect, because I think Mr. Burrett has already gone into that in great detail. And I think the Assam Valley School was, a Doon template taken, and we're only 25 years old. So I won't dwell on the founders, because it's very much the same thing as many schools. He called it, you could call it annual day or speech day. We call it founders. So I won't dwell on that. But I want to mention one thing, that in 2018, when we were touring Europe, and we were in Edinburgh, and we so happened to be there at the time when the famous Fringe Festival was on. And it was just so good to be part of that, because it was not a campus, it was not one organization. It was the whole of Edinburgh that was celebrating this huge festival. So there were stand-up comedy happening here, there was music, and it was roadside or in little halls. It was an amazing experience. So the Fringe was something that I think I think you graduate from a school fest and to a to college fest, and then you'd want to go into that. So that was one thing really good. The other thing that I saw from the old school that we taught in was Dr. Graham's Homes. They had started something called Crossroads, and here it was where they had all kinds of things like quizzes and debates and jams and little skits, but the beautiful thing about that Crossroads was that the responsibility of the whole organization did not fall on one school. They shared it. Now, when you have a hub like, Dehradun is a hub, or Missouri is a hub, and you have many schools over there, you can share the load. And so each school will say, okay, fine, I'll do the debates. I'll the logistics and things like that, and take care of that. So it works out very well, and no one school or the teachers of that school are not, burdened with the entire fest. But coming back to the learning aspect of why I think the previous two speakers mentioned this huge learning here. I mean, apart from the fiscals and the money that's involved and things like that, that's all really part of the budget, which is there, and it's not something that you get up one morning and you say, let's have a fest. But I think the learning for students is, the learning far outweighs the cost. And from the very ideation, because schools like us, we believe that we are the facilitators. So we are, we're not the sage on the stage, but the guide by the side. And so we really facilitate and help students. And so they come up with the ideation, the organization, and these are all soft skills in the 21st century that have become so important. Gone are the days when you could sort of walk out with, armed with your hard skills and say, this is what I've got. That's no more employability. You need to have those hard skills as well as the soft skills. So, networking, collaboration, teamwork, leadership, multitasking, uh, and of course, showcasing of talent. These are all so important. And I think it's really important that we give this opportunity to students. Um, as mentioned by the other two panelists as well, I think it takes away from the mundane as well. I mean, variety is the spice of life. And just taking students out of the normal classroom, sitting and listening, to whether it's history, civics, geography, English, mathematics, something different, but there's learning happening at the same time. So whether it's dance, whether it's a debate or a quiz, anything like that, I think there's a huge learning. And the other things that are not seen, like the soft skills, being able to kind of, go up to somebody and say, we'd like you on our team, would you help us? Just being able to go and, present their things to somebody and say, please come on board. I think that's huge, because that's needed when students leave school, to be able to have these soft skills. Very, very important. And as event manager, I have, this school is very unique. I've not seen it in any other school, where you have an event manager. And I have 10 event management prefects. Some have gone on to take event management as a career as well. But these students have, in the holidays, if there's a relative getting married, they simply take over and they help in organizing the whole show. And relatives have said, wow, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, to be able to get these skills from your school is something really, really great. So I think it's well worth the hours that we spend in planning with students, and it is tiring, but I think it's well worth it. And to send students out into the world as confident global citizens, what more can you ask for?
Wonderful, sir. It was so good to hear. In fact, this logistics aspect of fests, that kind of experience I've realized, if you're doing a B school interview or applying to a foreign college, that kind of experience really helps.
Okay. And at the Assam Valley School, we've had some very interesting fests. We've had a food fest, just a food fest, where children were exposed to different kinds of foods from around India and the world. Normally, we do have what we call a summer fest, which is a mix of all kinds of things, and we have a literary fest. But as mentioned, I think by Mrs. Devgan, we also have debates. We host what we call the East India debates, and we haven't been put off by the pandemic. In fact, this year we are going to have it online. Last year we sort of shied away from doing it, but this year we said no, we've got to do it. And I think we are inviting schools from neighboring countries as well. So the East India debates that we host is something big. And we also take our students to various other debates around the country. The Sri debates in Delhi, Oliphant debates from Mayo, and Slater debate from Bishop Cotton Shimla. So our students go around, and there's a lot of bonding happening when our students go there. They make new friends. So there's a great deal of benefit for students.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Chaturvedi, if I may come to you next. Ma'am, I remember back in my school days, while there was bonding and friendship and everything, there was a bit of one-upmanship as well. Every school would try to tell the other school that, listen, my fest is better than yours. My fest is more prestigious. Passes to my fest are more sought for. Do you still see that behavior in your students, ma'am?
See, sir. Good evening, everyone. First of all, now before I proceed, first let me introduce my place. It is Gandhidham, Kutch, remote area from the whole of the country. Just next, we are at the border. Just few miles, and we are in the Pakistan. And our town is the cosmopolitan town where the people all around the country is here in search of jobs. So this tendency, when you say, now come to your point, ki our school is best. If basically we see that we all are on the same thread only. Each school is doing, whether a cultural festival, food festival, everybody try their level best using whatever resources they have, whatever human resource, but logistic, whatever. So this feeling has that everybody, there's a common psychological phenomena. Everybody thinks that he is the best, but at the same time, being a school leaders, the thing is important that we have to teach our students that, see, we are the best, but other person is also not worst. They are also equal. They are best at their level, and we are the best at our level. And we should respect that to others. Differences of opinion, differences of presentation, we must learn to respect, to praise. And here in our school, we work from these roots only. The whole team, like my teachers, my mentors, my coordinators, my event manager, first thing we put focus on the emotional development of the child and the social development of the child through the festivals. It becomes important for my sake because I deal with the children who are living in a nuclear family, away from their hometowns, away from their near and dear ones, where almost both the parents are working. And parents don't have time to inculcate certain cultural value to the children. And here our roles as a teacher becomes important. And this festival gives us the important platform where we can inculcate certain values, the ethical values, the moral values, the cultural values, the familial values, which they are not getting it. The bonding of togetherness, to come up their own challenges, to cross their own limits, to challenge themselves, okay? And to develop the self-esteem and the self-worth. Because we all know that all the children are not for academics. Very common phenomena. And here we talk about the multiple intelligence. So this festivals brings the stage for the disposition of the multiple intelligences. And belongingness comes from here only. For belongingness for the school, yes, my school, and I have to do the best for my school. Okay, then from school it's come to the society. I belong to society, then to the city, and then to the nation, state, nation, and the world. Then come the global citizen. It's a long journey. It starts from the schooling through the festival. We have to, develop the leaders, not the bosses. And in our town, almost all the school and all the country also, we involve the children from the root, means from planning to the execution. There are children who has potential for the music, who some has it for dancing, some has the oratory skills, some has the wonderful culinary arts, okay? And there are certain who are very good for the helping one. We call them volunteers. Okay, these volunteers later on they can develop as a social workers, work selflessly. They are not part of any competition, they are not part of any exhibition, but they are the pillars, they are the binding factors, they are there for everyone. They know they are not going to recognition, they are not going to win any company, but without them festival cannot be. So here means in the festivals, for everyone, each and everyone, there are something or the other, what potential they have, and they come to know their self-worth. Being when as a child is working as a volunteer for some particular item, he is there to looking after for everything. I have seen in my journey, there is a child academically very low, means we can say hardly getting passing marks. Okay, athletics, yes, due to some physical the child is not able to. But when we took her as on a trip for a month, the way she was there, which is a girl child, the way she was working for everyone, taking care of everybody, we call it that this is junior teacher for us. Means you just say, where is that Ashdeep? Ma'am, it is there. Let me take you, guiding for everything. Means, and there she got the exposure. Everybody valued them, and she got the respect. Now everybody forgot that she is zero in academic. Everybody has forgot that she cannot do it sports also well. But yes, as a human being, as a helper, the child stands for, somewhere stands for, and that boosted her self-confidence. Later on we found that she started working well with other field of knowledge, even academically also she improved. But from where she got this opportunity? Through our festivals, through the events. And once she is there after clearing the 12th standard, she is there to face the world, and we are pretty sure that she is the somewhere to lead the crowd, to mobilize the crowd. Okay, so these festivals, comprises of every emotional needs it fulfill. It's fulfill psychological needs, it's fulfill the social needs, and with the common notion of the togetherness, it gives us the feeling of togetherness. With this festival, they get to know about the whole world. Suppose the festival is celebrated different part of the world in different way. Okay, what is the name, what is the custom, what is the ritual? The child explores, study, and that they present by their own way. Means you get a new version of that festival with the traditional plus technological advancement, the fusion culture, and it is something mesmerizing. Even sometimes we remain, wow, what is it? It can be thought for. And these festivals are meant for, and not the big events, small events. If a school organized, sometimes there are problem with the funds and all, and the loss of academics. So instead of going for a big event, a school can go for small events, inter-school events, intra-class, inter-classes events, where the child will get platform to express themselves, and they cannot sacrifice their academics. Even everything can be managed in our school. We have two big events. One is Founders Day, and one is Carnival, and we plan two events in such a way where neither the academic suffers nor the children get tired, or the school atmosphere doesn't get. Means as like one is half yearly exam gets over, we are there to set for the Diwali vacation. Now this is the time where teachers are relaxed, children are relaxed, program weekend, and after that there is vacation. So children and teachers, they both get relaxed, and school can come back to on track within the vacation, and we again start with the academic. Oh, this is why what I feel like festival should be for emotional connection. This is what we do it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, you started by saying your school is in one remote corner of Gujarat. I've been to that area, and I think you have the most incredible natural beauty close to you. You have the Run of Kutch, which also hosts one of the biggest festivals of India.
Yes.
And I think that Narayan Sagar temple, where you're standing on the Indian side and right across the water, you see the Pakistani lights.
Yes,
Yeah, it's an incredible feeling. Thank you so much, ma'am. Sumali ma'am, if I may come to you next, both you and Dr. Chaturvedi said that uh, classes would be made up for, academics will not be compromised. How do you get parents to believe that? Because there are still parents who still believe that a school is for your maths, physics, and chemistry. How do you deal with them?
Of course, one has to have a good relationship with the parents, and that doesn't happen only because there's a festival coming up or you're taking the children out somewhere, right? So it's over the years we build up this relationship with the parents. They need to have confidence in us as a school, then only they can trust us, right? So yes, like I said, I mean, I have done many of these festivals, and I've dealt mainly with the senior children. So one of the ways which things I would do is encourage the children to carry their textbooks, right? The key subjects. So see, the festivals, events are usually held during the daytime. Evenings are free. So I would motivate the children. I would encourage them to catch up with the work that they would have missed those 4 or 5 days they are out, right? And I must say that the children did do so, and we didn't really have too much of a problem. I mean, I've not had too much of a problem with these sort of things, because every time they went outstation, I would encourage them to carry their books. And it was a nice feeling to see them, and on the good side, that in the evenings they'd be sitting and revising their lessons, whatever they would take the syllabus from the teachers, what they would be missing during those 5 or 6 days, and they would be doing their work. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I've also typically seen that people who do well in events like maybe public speaking or quizzing are also academic achievers.
Yes.
They're rarely, if ever, a different set.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And they realize their responsibility. They do know they are going to miss classes. So it also develops a sense of responsibility. And most of them rise to the occasion.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much. Mr. Watts, if I may come to you next. Sir, have you ever faced a Coach Carter kind of a situation where, other teachers are telling you that, you're taking them away from classes, they're missing classes, etc.?
No, not really. That happens not at fest time, but it happens with my event management prefects, because they've got to do all the work before behind the scenes, that other people don't really see. I mean, everyone sees, everything done and ready. They don't see what goes into it and the work that goes into it. So, and very often students are pushed for time. And when do they get it? So, they've got to use whatever time they can. And so some teachers will come to me and say, Mr. Watts, so-and-so was missing from his class. And so I have to, get to these students and tell them, hey, listen, if you do have to miss a class, please make sure you ask that particular teacher for permission. And if the teacher allows you and you think that you can make up whatever you've lost in the evening, do it. Otherwise, don't just take off. So sometimes that does happen. But as Mr. Devgan said, they always make up for what they've lost, academic time.
So being in a residential institute, you would not perhaps have to deal with parents as frequently as a day school. But have you faced a situation where a parent says, listen, I don't want my son to be debating around the country because IITs are coming up?
Sometimes, yes, but that's, once in a blue moon. Because what we do is when we do our interviews and admissions to the school, we very categorically tell our parents, this is a school for all-round development. If you wish to, make your child an academician, please go to Kota or somewhere else, because the Assam Valley School is not it's not a tutorial center. Here we believe that, that art and sport and, theater and music are just as important. And if you want to buy into our experience, then please do so. But you need to, once you become a parent at the Assam Valley School, then you need to support our belief. And so in that, we don't have much of a problem, because the parents have already bought into what we believe in. And that's how the school started off like that, and that's very much, of course, no doubt, the pressure of board results and things is there, and so we do have that coming up as well. But luckily for us, we've managed stellar board results year upon year, so that hasn't been too much of a problem. But yes, once parents are concerned that their son is playing too much of football and not doing well at mathematics or English, that comes up. But then that's all part of the whole thing, and we have to deal with that. And then motivate the student. Come on, you need to. This is also important, and you can't just not do it. But then we've had students going on and taking up careers There are, not run-of-the-mill careers, and we encourage them to do that. Whether it's, going into theater, we've got students who are film directors. We encourage these things, and not we don't tell them that that's not important. You need to be this. No, we encourage them to explore. I mean, whatever they want to do.
Wonderful, sir. So right now we are 2 for 2. Both you and Sumali ma'am have confirmed that missing of the classes is not that big a deal. In fact, students who participate in FEST often end up doing better. Those schools are getting better results.
Absolutely.
Dr. Chaturvedi, if I may ask you the same question, because you said you have a cosmopolitan town. So many people come into that town purely for livelihood. When you tell them that their children are going to spend a couple of weeks in the term preparing for a festival, what is their typical reaction?
It's a mixed kind, we can say. There are parents who readily agree for it. There are parents who first say, no, we don't want, because it is a loss of academic, and they will put their whole efforts into the event, and afterward they will fall sick, and again the duly it will affect them. So in that case, we just call the parents, we counsel, and we try to take into confidence that there won't be loss of even academic, because that much burden we are not going to. It will be affected. Your child is not the only one who is going to get whole sole responsibility of the event. It is as per the caliber. Even in the school also, the whole day we don't go for the practice and revision. We prepare a slot in such a manner where the important academic classes goes on, and then we call it a zero period. We make a zero period of it. So that way you just wait and watch for a week. If you find your child is missing the classes, not come at home also, he is not paying attention, then you can withdraw it. And at the same time, we just counsel the children also, because they are the important one. And for children, festivals are important. It is just like the moment we announce that we are going to have a festival, it's like first rain of monsoon after the summer season. So they are extremely happy, and they are ready to whatever we say them. So we just take into the context, you have to give the equal effort toward the academics. At home also, you should not shift from your duties, your study, by saying that मैं बहुत थक गया था और इतना सारा homework pending है, नहीं होगा, मैं पढ़ नहीं पाऊंगा, whatever. No excuse at home. You have to manage. This is what the life is. We have to manage all the things. Life is all about the managers. So things are managed quite hard. There are one or two sometimes where we have to surrender. Okay, and if you are not, so we just leave them, and we select the work for the child, because children literally want, whether parents want or not, prefer or not, but children, they want to be a part of. So we select such a role for the child where neither the parents are worried or in a phase, and nor the child, and things are managed one. So it is again a part and parcel, mixed things we get, and we manage different techniques for the different people. But yes, with 85% we don't face, since we have set once. 1 year we have proved that there's no loss of academics, it will be. So next year they don't make a fuss of it, because they have experienced enough. It happens when some new family members included, they have not witnessed it, and they have some different kind of experience to some other place. But we make sure it, and they understand it, because all are educated. Here we get it. They come, so they understand. Not much problem we face it.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing that. You made it sound very effortless, but I'm quite sure a lot of management and planning goes into this to kind of make sure that you have jobs suited for every child, even domestic situations. That's amazing. Sumali ma'am, I'll just come to you for my last round of questions. The current situation, right? In the pandemic, we have more than 100 teachers and school principals who are watching this. Word of advice for all of them from you in terms of what they as a school can do. One, when schooling is online, how can they manage their fests, or if they want to do events for their school? Second, while I'm sure the better schools have not faced this problem, a lot of schools are facing a problem in collecting fees. So there is the part of budget considerations for a festival. How can they manage this?
A very difficult situation, yes, because we have been facing it definitely. It's going to be almost a year and a half. also, you see, we have been trying to have our activity classes within the school, but we are a residential school. We have children in far-flung areas where the internet connectivity is terrible. So they've been losing out a lot. I feel sorry, about what's happening. But yes, it was a tough time. Last year, one of the very big schools here, they had this online storytelling competition. And I was also pretty new to this, online events going on. And initially I was a bit reluctant, but I said, okay, let's take the challenge. And we did. It was very difficult. We trying to prepare the children online. Some child would drop out halfway, ma'am, no net. And, we are left hanging mid-air. Oh dear, it was really tough, but I'm happy to say that yes, we did get the overall trophy and our children did win prizes, so it was worth all that effort. But yes, it's not easy. I mean, I personally would think a lot before trying to organize an inter-school event at this stage, because there are lots of issues. We can't only take it for granted that everybody has good bandwidth at home and they have, sort of the facilities to carry these things out. It's not been easy, because we have entered the homes of so many of our students while we are taking classes. And yes, we understand the problems they all face. So yes, it's okay. We have done without it for sometimes. Small events we are taking part in. We are now hopefully going in for an online MUN for the first time. I don't know how I'm going to train the children and help them out. But yeah, okay, let's accept it, face the challenge, and at least give it a shot. But it's not going to be easy. At least I know from our side.
Amazing, ma'am. In fact, if I may just fall back on our experience last year with Zero Hour, we did this debate with 64 schools, 7 countries,
Yes.
and yes, there were network drop-offs, there were network connectivity issues, but two things came to the fore. One, students really enjoyed it. I have not seen so many students get so excited. They would mail me directly saying that, okay, can you send me the recording of so and so debate? I love this person's speech.
Yes. Yeah.
And the second was the quality of debate we saw from students. I mean, I have done debating at a college and university level. I will not take on these kids.
Yeah.
I will not dare to.
Yes.
So, ma'am, I'll really encourage you to go for any of these inter-school crickets that you would find.
No, we are definitely trying. Definitely, we are going in for it, as many as possible, but it's not always easy. Like I said, we did do one a festival, a kind of a competition on Shakespeare, scenes from Shakespeare. And because I love Shakespeare, so I definitely took part, with my children. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. And like you said, midway, there's net goes off, midway some connection goes off. So it's very disheartening also at times. That's what I mean, for me at least.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Well, I hope to see your school team at Notebook Ignite as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Watts, sir, if I may come. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Watts, sir, if I may ask you the same question. Your advice to all these schools here, because you are the event specialist here.
In fact, I'm sorry we didn't do the East India debates last year. And I'm sorry we didn't do that because, as Mrs. Devgan said, it was all new to us, and we didn't know. We were just, looking around in the dark and not very sure of ourselves. But this year we said no, we must. Yes, I do agree with Mrs. Devgan when she says when she talks about connectivity issues, and sometimes you just lose out. Looking at our school and the biggest events that we host, the East India debates, where we get schools from all over India. Having it in school, hosting it, the big dinner at the end of the debates, and all the the students coming in, going to Guwahati to escort them back to the school, and then everyone meeting in the library and saying hello, and that won't be there in this platform, the online platform. That will be missing, and that's a huge minus from it. But looking at the fiscals and the financial aspect that you said, I mean, it's a huge amount when you bring schools from around India and possibly from other countries as well, and you host them in your school. There's so many things that you need to take into account, and the expenses are quite huge. But The online format allows you to do pretty much everything without much cost. So that's a big plus actually. So yes, if you have schools that are in far-flung areas, they may have problems, connectivity problems. Yes, that's something that we need to live with as long as we are doing this things online. But where cost is concerned, it is a huge, huge plus doing it online. You don't have so many of the logistics that you have to take care of. Because I know I'm right now in the middle of planning the East India debates actually, which will happen on the 15th to the 17th of September. And I know that the costs are absolutely hardly anything worth talking about. You've just got to put your team together to get everything. So I think it's well worth it. And yes, I would like to say that what Mr. Burrett said earlier was that we are elitist. We are elitist, and because the fact is that 93% of Indian school children do not have this opportunity of online education. Can you imagine? Just 6 or 7% of Indian students have this online facility. That means they have the connectivity, they have the devices. So yes, we are elitist.
Wonderful, sir. On the bit about managing the debates, we have the complete recording of last year's 0 hour on our YouTube channel. You might want to look at it. In fact, if I remember correctly, one of our finalists was from Guwahati, a lady from Mayo College, Ajmer, and the quality of debating was fantastic.
All right, I will.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Chaturvedi, if I may ask you next, in terms of managing budgets, in terms of managing the show online, how are you dealing with this?
To be very frank, that last year it was a challenge. All of a sudden it has, and to manage online teaching only was a big challenge for us. So many of the events we could not do it. We could not do it, to be very frank. Few only we could not, debates and all, no, because again the same internet connectivity, there was an issue. Gadgets was an issue. Right, there are three siblings are there, and each one is not having the different, so it was really difficult time for us. We could manage with the small events like poetry recitation competition, where they have prepared the video and send this, and us poetry writing activities, bakery activities rather, we have done it. This year we are really looking forward for some inter school. We are planning for it, but last year we have not done. And now, since 1 year's experience, my team is ready for doing it. Recently, when live session we have done on a story writing workshop, and story narration for a small kid, story narration, and for the middle class we have done the story writing. So that way we are now starting with. Budget is not an issue, because now everybody is in tuned with. So we are looking forward with the great events, but till now we have not done. We are looking forward.
Wonderful, ma'am. And I will also take this opportunity to invite you and your entire school to the Notebook Ignite event. I'm sure your students would come up with some great ideas.
Sure.
Well, all of you, that's all I had from me. Thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful discussion. I learned quite a lot and had a lot of fun discussing this with all of you. Before I call Achin in for the vote of thanks, let me once again extend a very warm invitation to each and everyone here. If your schools would join us at the Notebook Ignite, share their innovative ideas, innovative plans, it would help them develop their ideas of critical thinking. They will receive mentorship from IIM Calcutta faculty. And I think overall, we would be able to connect the student community a little bit better. Well, Achin, it's time for you to thank everybody here, and you will have quite a bit to thank for. So over to you.
I think a really wonderful event. I must say, seamless flow of thoughts and a lot of great takeaways. But sir, thank you so much for sharing your perspective, and especially with regard to the entire perspective of the importance of events from a boarding school's perspective. I think you really shared that very well, and also gave us a very holistic and 360-degree perspective with regard to these events. Thank you indeed, sir. Sumali ma'am, I think really interesting to know about your Lahore trip. And the best part of it was how, you managed to convince the parents and how successful the trip was. I think that's the best part of it. And also, I really like the way, ma'am, you deliberated on one particular aspect with regard to how you look at these events, how you look at, school fairs or be it any event. The fact that you believe that there should not be any ranking and prizes and should all be about happiness and bonds of friendship. I think that's really a very unique perspective. Undoubtedly, I think I really appreciate your thought on this, and also the fact that it develops sense of responsibility. Couldn't agree more. I think that's one of the prime takeaways. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time.
Thank you.
Dr. Chaturvedi, really appreciate, ma'am, your time here today and the fact that you shared your perspective with us. I think emotional and social development of children, what you started with, I think we also are completely on board with that, and I think I'm sure that esteemed educators in this forum would completely agree with you. A few other points you mentioned, ma'am, which I think are really wonderful. The fact that you emphasize so much of the role of volunteers as pillars, as binding factors, and also really very interesting to know about your student who earned the nickname of junior teacher, and how she really displayed exemplary leadership skills, social skills. And in today's world, as we would all appreciate, I think domain knowledge undoubtedly is important, but that's given. So when you step out of the campus, leadership skills, social skills are so important in today's world. So undoubtedly, be it trips, be it this kind of events, they're an opportunity for students to come up and come out of the comfort zones and really showcase their skills. Gives them a lot of confidence. So I think a wonderful perspective on that. Thank you so much. Now, what, sir? Really appreciate. I think a lot of great insights, be it in terms of your experience in terms of Fringe at Edinburgh or Crossroad at Dr. Graham Soames. I think, and I really liked what you shared about Crossroad, the fact of sharing of responsibility among schools, schools coming together. That's really a wonderful concept that even I was deliberating on, and I was going through some literature with regard to online events where schools are collaborating. So I think that's really so wonderful. Ensures best possible utilization of resources. Also, I believe other some very good aspects that you deliberated on. Be it importance of soft skills, be it also really interesting to know about East India debate that are being held at Assam Valley School. Wonderful initiatives, undoubtedly. One more thing, sir. I think you also deliberated on the online format and very rightly pointed out that it's far more scalable. It really brings down cost and ensures that we are able to reach out to a much larger audience. Yes, there are challenges in terms of digital divide, and the pandemic has made it so apparent. But the only solution, I guess, is to move forward and ensure that as a society, all of us, we come forward, all stakeholders come forward and join hands to solve this problem. You also very rightly mentioned that less than 5 to 6% students are under any kind of structured EdTech ambit, and that's so true. So I'll tell you, in fact, I'll just take a minute to share this, that we at Notebook, when we started this endeavor 3 years back, there are 4 key words that each of us really believe on. Accessibility, to ensure that we are accessible to one and all. Affordability, by promoting economies of scale, by really taking things to a level where we are able to reach each deserving student. Inclusivity, of course, education is a no-brainer, needs to be inclusive. And another thing very important to us, very close to our heart, in fact, these are values that we all live with, and we live these values day in and day out. Respect. When we say respect, be it respect for a parent's wallet share, most important, respect for a student's time. The fact that they're investing time in Notebook, what are they getting out of it? And I'm sure that that's the case with any platform. And third, respect for teachers, esteemed educators, and to ensure that Notebook comes in as an aid and not as an alternative, to ensure that we are of assistance to teachers. So I think really some wonderful thoughts. I thank all of you for your time here today. I also thank members of the esteemed audience for being with us here today evening. Thank you, take care, and goodbye.
Thank you, Achin. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Good night.